So, let's see. Now, I'll start the meeting with approval of minutes of April 2nd.
I'll approve the minutes, but I will complain that the signs are still up from Mohawk Construction or whomever. But I do approve the minutes.
Okay.
I'll second the approval.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 So, let's see, next is addition to the agenda. Priscilla has two. One is alternate planning and zoning committee. And the second is railroad crossing problem in West Cornwall.
Yes.
So,
And that came as a result of a phone call from Big.
communications. I attended planning and zoning meeting last week, and they requested a letter from us concerning the town plan of conservation development. We wrote them a letter 10 years ago, and they would like another letter as they are beginning to finalize their work on the plan of conservation and development. So I'll draft something up. I'll send you what we sent last time. A lot of the issues are still out there. So anyway, we'll draft something. It doesn't have to be done next time, but it should be done next month.
Okay. And you'll send it to us.
Yeah, I'll try to get a draft going, and then we can talk about it next meeting. So then, public comments. Any public comments? Hello, public. First thing on the agenda is appointment of Heather Deneen as Veteran Service Contact Person. We got a letter from the Lieutenant Governor asking us to make sure we have an appointed Veteran Service Contact Person, and I did ask Heather Deneen, the Social Service Agency, willing to do that, and she said she was. So I would make a motion that we appoint Heather as Veteran Service Contact Person. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Next we have transfer station vacancy. We did get one letter from a prospective applicant tonight. We did post the job. Should be in the Lakeville Journal next week, and I did have someone in town who has also applied for the job. So at least we have two people
Okay.
to interview, and again, maybe we'll try that next week. If it gets posted, just so we get a good chance to get applicants, and I think we already do have some good ones.
So if you're saying next week, are
Next,
you
it depends. If it runs in the Lakeville Journal this week, then we've
Yeah.
met our obligation to post the job.
Okay.
And we already have two good applicants, so I would say, as that's our week
Well-
we don't normally meet, we will likely try to fill that.
So you just tell us which day and we'll interview
Right, I
these
mean,
people?
again, Tuesday, I have a meeting Wednesday night. We also have the town budget hearing next Friday night, so I would suggest Monday or Tuesday night would be a good time. Again, as Priscilla's looking at her schedule,
I'm looking at my schedule.
you're looking at your schedule, everyone's reminded there is the town budget hearing, which is at 7 o'clock.
27th.
Yeah, let me go.
Either Monday or Tuesday is fine.
Yeah, okay.
29, 27, 26th, I think.
The 26th is the budget meeting, but I'm going to trivia night at the library instead.
You know what? Yeah, at 7:30 CCS is the town budget meeting. You can go budget trivia, you can have town trivia, you can have Cornwall Association
We could have a
trivia,
whole meeting on budget trivia.
budget trivia, whole
It could be a whole
category.
meeting, yeah.
So, yeah, maybe we'll just set that for next Tuesday, give a
That's
chance to
fine.
get more applications in.
If this is under the assumption it gets in the paper this week, is there
Yeah,
a
if it
possibility it
doesn't.
won't? Is that,
Anything's possible.
Well, you need a chance for other people to
Right,
apply, yeah.
but again, if we put it in for a week, and then we did
Oh,
actually
okay.
put it in the Chronicle. Think about that one for a minute. So it's in it's in the May Chronicle, which won't have come out.
That won't have come out by
So we
then.
could actually wait on this till the first week in May.
it's probably better.
I think that's a good idea.
And we have enough substitutes to work that week or 10 days before we hire somebody? Yeah,
Sort
sort
of.
of.
Yeah,
So that would be May 7th is our next
right.
Selectmen's meeting.
And we might just
And that's-
do that Monday or something, just to,
Or you want to do it a different night, not the
yeah,
Selectmen's?
or whatever. I mean, I don't
We
want
have
to let
too
it
much-
go into, I don't want to let it wander into mid-May. So let's think about, yeah, let's think about that following week, that Monday or
It's the
Wednesday,
6th.
depending on what we got on our schedule.
Okay,
So that you don't have any conflicts on that Monday?
nope,
Okay,
Monday the 6th, you're saying possibly?
yeah,
that's what we're talking about.
Should be enough time for the Chronicle to have come out, some people to respond.
Yep.
it's the weekend there, so.
Tommy said his last day was April 28th.
Right, yeah. Okay, anything else on the vacancy of the transfer station?
Do we have a position defined?
We have a job description, which we found, and we dusted it off. Did we send you a copy of that?
No, but you have the questions you're going to be asking the
We
person.
have questions, but I don't believe
I
we
do.
You don't
have
have
the
the
job
job
description. I don't
We
think we
could
did
fire up
receive
that,
that.
our new copier, and,
Okay, you want me to do that or take notes, one or the other? Because I can't do both.
Well, we can get that later. We don't have to
Okay.
actually look
yeah,
at
let's
it at
just,
the moment.
Just
let's just,
remind me.
yeah, let's, at the end of the meeting, let's get the job description. Right. Okay. So then, next, there is an FOI conference, Freedom of Information Commission Annual Conference.
What's FOI?
Freedom of Information,
Oh,
there's an actual Freedom of Information Commission Annual Conference, Privacy versus Transparency, Maintain the Delicate Balance, Friday, May 3rd, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. The River House at Goodspeed Station, Haddam, Connecticut. Nice place to go.
Wow.
So, if anyone's interested, I think I will put this word out to our boards and commissions, and there's also, I think, I read in the paper, that there is also an FOI training session in North Canaan with their town attorney. That is also open to the public, so I can call up there to see if people are interested. I'll get that word out and find out from North Canaan. I think other towns can come, but their attorney is actually a partner at Pearly Grimes, so it'd be good for people that don't know.
Well, that would be a lot closer.
That'd be a lot closer. I'm not sure what the date was on that, but it's coming up. So anyway, I will try to get word out to people on all this.
I can't think of the gentleman's name that has run these events.
Tom Hennick,
Tom Hennick.
the man.
He's always interesting.
So here's the flyer. And
Thank
Tom
you.
says that if he doesn't get enough interest, he will not have the conference. So anyway, I'll leave that.
The date of that
Oh, you do?
Nice.
It's April 23rd.
April 23rd.
It's Tuesday or Tuesday, Wednesday? What day is? the
That's
week
next
is-
Tuesday.
Next Tuesday?
Yeah, what time is that in North Canton?
7 o'clock.
7 PM, Town Hall, and that's open to the public, correct?
Yes.
Right. So, and this other one was Friday, May 3, 10, 8.
The one in Canaan is at 7 o'clock in the evening, probably an hour and a half.
And where?
Town hall.
Town hall. Thank you.
Right, so we'll get that
Okay.
word out to people. Next item is bridges. We have talked to Roger, who said that we're on track to getting some bid specifications ready to go out in May for the Hollenbeck Bridge Culvert Project. So we're still online with that. The engineer's wrapping up his work. So hopefully we'll...
Hollenbeck Lake Road.
Hollenbeck Lake Road.
Okay, yeah.
Correct. Yes, so that's in work. Next we have,
Maybe he'll have it ready for the May 7th, or more likely the May 21st.
yeah, and if we get tight, we might have to have a special meeting just to approve that and get it
Out to bid.
out to bid. So I will tell Roger our meeting schedule.
What's the target for the, getting the bid out?
Before Memorial Day,
Okay.
so we get it back in June. Next, town building report. I've been talking to our town building reporter, and he assures me we'll have a report for the Board of Finance next Thursday night. He's had a few computer glitches, which has made his formatting a little bit less than he'd hoped, but we should have a rough draft of that report for the Board of Finance meeting this Thursday, in other words, in 2 days. So again, Jim and I are working on trying to get something together there, and he's gonna have something for us at that point. And again, it's probably not the final work, but at least it will hit a lot of the points as far as what needs to be done for buildings. So that will sort of,
18th.
that is a Board of Finance meeting, but if you guys can make that, that would be good. They also did not have a quorum at their last meeting last Thursday, so they do need to to approve our budget ahead of the budget hearing the following evening. So again, and they have a bunch of other things of town importance
It's
to
not the
discuss.
following evening, it's next week.
Oh, okay, the following week.
But we'll
Right.
also approve the revenues too, probably.
Right, so there'll be a big budget discussion, so that would be, right, so then you got a week in between those.
So there's nothing this Thursday.
Well,
No,
we
no,
will
the regular,
listen to Jim Terrell probably this
Right.
Thursday, yeah.
the regular Board of Finance meeting is this
This
Thursday.
Thursday. Right,
Oh,
so this Thursday, you have that meeting, the budget, the revenues, the buildings, and then the budget hearing the following week, so
Friday, yeah.
that, the following 8 days later, so that Barbara can get all those draft budgets, which will be online and available at
Oh, good.
public places. I believe we'll get a draft out.
Do you think I'll actually have the report ahead of the meeting?
and this Thursday,
Stay
it's at
tuned.
7 or 7:30?
7:30.
Are you sure? I think the Board of Finance all speaks at 7. Want me to look at my little list again? I think all their meetings are at 7 o'clock here,
I think so,
right?
too.
All meetings will be held at 7 PM in the Cornwall
Okay.
Town Hall,
Okay. Okay.
except the public hearing
make a
on
note
April
and come to
26th
that.
and the town meeting on May 24th. So.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, we have the suspense list, which is an annual event. And I'm not quite sure what we call it, the suspense list, but this is a list of unpaid, uncollectible personal property and motor vehicle taxes on the rate books of the town of Cornwall. And then they get taken off the rate books and put into the suspense tax book.
As uncollectible, basically.
As uncollectible.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean, so this is about $2,300 in motor vehicle taxes. But even though they were removed from the active list, they're still collectible. And then she can forward them to collection agency. In the past year, she's collected $1,519.04 in taxes and interest by using the collection agency and the threat to use the agency. So, anyway.
Did the Board of Selectmen authorize her to use a collection agency?
Yes,
Okay.
just in this instance.
On this particular
When
list of things.
it goes on this long. So I would make a,
But this is specifically automobiles and personal property and not real estate.
I believe so.
It tends
Yeah.
to be addresses that have gone astray, students who have moved out of town, just sort of odds and
Right,
ends
it's
of
not major
$15.
Right, no, of
Yeah.
course.
stakes. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
And real estate's a little different. A deed can't be transacted
Right.
with
I
a
don't
lien
think
on it.
real estate goes on that
no,
really
I
because,
just see a bunch of cars.
yeah.
So anyway, I make that motion that we agree with and act on the recommendation of
So to suspend.
to transfer to the suspense
Okay.
list, the attached list of unpaid personal property and motor vehicle taxes, as recommended by the tax collector. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. So next is West Cornwall Septic. We had a meeting last week, and I've talked to Steve McDonald a couple times since then. And he's refining his numbers that he gave the committee last week. He's looking at some other sites. He's looking at some alternative systems, trying to get the price of the project down. And a thought that came up, one thing we mentioned but we didn't really follow through on, but I have talked to the people down in Saybrook area to see whether they have some sites they would recommend the committee, the community, whoever to visit, so we can actually look at something that's similar to what may be proposed for West Cornwall. And Steve said he is also looking and talking to people he's worked with as far as technology, to see if we can get a decent road trip together to look at an equivalent system in a similar town, in a similar setting, similar volume, similar scale, this kind of thing. So we all know it's not like your standard old-fashioned septic plant, but I think
How was the Saybrook example particularly good?
it's particularly good because Saybrook, Madison, and one other town down there do not have a centralized sewer system, and because of the will of the people, they have a lot of decentralized systems, but it's a much bigger town, so they have, so if you have a condominium complex, like we went down last year, this condominium complex, 150 people living there, they have their own system. You have a shopping center, it has its own system. The difference is these are in-ground systems, but they're advanced treatment systems, similar to what Steve is proposing, although they'll go underground instead of in the river. But it's basically the same technology, which shows you a contained treatment system that's applicable. And maybe we wind up in Saybrook, or maybe there's another place that is more like it. But when we went down last fall, it was interesting to see how the technology worked and operated in very close proximity to businesses and houses. I mean, it was no farther away from people's condominiums than the town office is from us right now. So anyway, so it's just a different systems, and I think it would be good for people to see what the advancements in technology have brought us on a fairly small scale. So that's one thing that's going to be trying to get organized. So, last week I attended a meeting at HVA with other people with interest in the river, people that are part of their River Steward program, which oversees boating, mostly boating access, fishing access, places up and down the river from, I think, the power plant in Falls Village all the way down past New Milford. And they are offering to have river interns monitor the Bend project this summer, so there'll be somebody there on a regular basis talking to people about issues concerning the river and proper use, monitoring such things as littering or other things that can be a problem. So I think I reported last meeting that I did meet with Mike Druszynski down there from HVA, and there still needs 3 items which the town, or I agreed that the town would install. One is an apron on the parking lot, the asphalt. Second thing is they're buying a gate for the parking lot that can be locked, and then there's also the posts that would go up in front of the boat access so people don't drive down the boat access, but they could be removable if the fire department has to launch their emergency boat in that area. So again,
Are we doing that?
yeah, so the gate and all those things we can do, it's just going to take some time to put those in place, and then we can schedule a open house. And again, we'd have to get a porta potty down there, but we can schedule an open house or something. Ribbon cutting ceremony in June is our goal, so if we can get that work done. Right now the crew is busy servicing roads, but we should have some time in the next couple of weeks to get those when we get the materials in place. The parking lot looks really nice. Be a nice addition to the little village.
So at this point, the contractor's work is done,
Pretty much, yeah.
or
Yeah.
the original contract is
Right,
95% done?
Right,
And these
yeah,
3 things that
90,
you mentioned
right.
are gonna be done by the town.
yep.
What's that date? Oh, we're gonna install the gate for HVA.
Yeah, we have to get the gate, but then we'd install that.
Okay.
Hopefully in May, these projects will be done, so we could open it up in June. Let's see.
Who takes care of the porta potty?
Town. So we pay for its maintenance and oversee it. And then Floods would maintain it every week. They come in and service it.
When is the races?
Interesting. Good point. The races are in mid-May.
Oh,
So we may or may not get this all. We probably won't have this all done. Maybe we'll have it all done. Who knows? It's like May 18th.
if the gate's not up, it'll be being used,
Right.
which is okay.
Well, except there's now a chain across it, so it won't be used until the chain
Oh,
is
okay,
removed.
all right.
Right.
Because don't people normally regularly camp
Right.
in that?
Right, but that's an excellent thing. So maybe we could do a soft opening, but again, we'd have to have that, make sure that that ramp is secured.
I think we should make an effort to have it finished by then.
Right, if we can. Right.
Well, if we goose somebody, we should get it done. I mean, it's still a month.
Okay.
Well, it
These are the
depends on-
kayak races?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
kayak races though, but when are they? They could be the second week. in
Well, they're
May.
May 18th.
May 18th.
Oh, is that, okay.
Yeah.
I think people work better when they have an anticipated reason for getting something done.
Mm-hmm. Okay, anything else on the Bend? Next, fiber optic. Again, this came up, we had a Northwest Council Governors meeting on Friday with the governor, and one of the things after meeting with the governor, which went very well, that came up was the Council of Governments has hired a consultant to implement their economic development strategy. And one of the steps of that consultant will be having public outreach programs on broadband, fiber optics, and public input on things. And start the dialogue as far as how to improve internet service in these towns. So that will be ongoing. So that was interesting that they've hired somebody to do that work. Also, I passed this quick start service agreement, which we looked at and we went on record in favor of at one of our previous meetings. So I ran this past Jocelyn, who handed over to Kim Maxwell at Northwest Connect, and he said he could basically do this for us as far as a back of the envelope estimate of how much it would cost to wire the town, which again varies with time. So between Northwest Connect and the Northwest COG person, it seems like we have enough people geared up to give us the information that we would have gotten out of this third party without hiring the third party. And again, the third party comes from Minneapolis, and the other ones are much more local players. So
What is Quick Start? Is that the
Quick Start was
Minneapolis?
well, I'm not sure, Quick Start service agreement, whether that means it's gonna start quickly, or whether that's, I think that's just a generic term, that there was a proposal by the Institute for Local Self-Reliance and NEO Partners for basically $1,500. They would estimate how much it would cost to wire the town with fiber optics, but we think we have other sources with existing grants that can do the same work.
Yeah.
And this was something in conjunction with Falls Village.
Yeah,
I
so,
believe.
right.
So are they looking at bowing out of it also?
I don't know what action they're taking out of it.
Um,
And it also Kim Maxwell from Northwest Connect said he would come and address our board if we had any other follow-up questions for him. And I think we saw him in Norfolk at that meeting, the economic summit, and he's quite good and has thought a lot
Yes.
about it. So, I mean, and I have sent you this, and I sent this on to the Board of Finance. This is the Northwest Connect's next steps addressing Northwest Connecticut's broadband and cell service needs, by Kim Maxwell, Northwest Connect President, gives background, his current strategy, and one of the things that came up was in last May, the Public Utility Regulatory Commission ruled that municipalities cannot use the power poles to string their own cable without becoming an electric utility. So did you get all this update stuff?
I think so.
Right. So it's just like a crazy ruling, but
several
they
weeks ago.
this is several weeks ago.
Yeah.
But they basically ruled that the utility poles belong to the utilities, and there's not a municipal slot on each utility pole, which would have allowed the municipalities to easily string or fiber optic cable
Where does
around
that
town.
leave you?
What?
Where does that leave you?
That leaves you in the middle of a lawsuit to try to go back to where you were before, which there's legislation being proposed, and the governor is all in favor of some of this. So, anyway.
But now, Gordon, going back to the woman with the $600 thing, wasn't that the woman that was interviewed at the the Economic Development Council that was talking to us about doing both Falls Village and Cornwall? Was that the same?
That,
That was different.
this quick start came
Yeah.
through her.
Through her? Okay.
And then, so what I did was I checked with the COG, saying we already have these two other
Okay.
initiatives. Is this doing something different? And what the response was that this is gonna do something similar or something we can get without having to spend extra money on another study whose numbers may not be relevant
Okay.
when and if the town actually decides to do something. So we basically get the money, we can get the answers we're looking for as far as, and also more importantly, I think, get a public dialogue going as far as what are the issues out there in the town, which people feel that they're underserved, which people feel they're overserved, what are people's apprehension about going to fiber optic broadband, microcells, a bunch of different issues that are out there that need to be discussed, but apparently there will be people doing that process without a third group getting in the mix. Does that make some sense?
Do we sign up for that? Or do we
No.
give an affirmative on that yet? On
No,
On the
we
quick
haven't
start?
executed it.
Okay.
So I would say at this point, we would not execute it because we've gotten assurances our needs will be covered for the immediate future with two other initiatives.
Okay.
Make sense? Or do we want to go for three? Go for the trifecta. I
No,
think
no,
we-
no,
we-
I mean-
as long as there is a public dialogue over the summer and there's work getting done to address this issue, I think that's the main thing. And the more coherent and local coordination we can have, I think the better off we are.
Someone with knowledge of how to lay it out will take the road mileage, look at
Right.
look at the town of Cornwall's mapping and where the poles are and sort of quickly, and we'll say this is the way to do it, or you
Right.
could do it this way, and and that's about how much it'll cost to lay out the wires. I mean, I think that's kind of what we're looking for,
Right.
which will be a ballpark estimate. Is it 400,000?
Right.
4 million, or
Right.
40 million? It's just,
We know how much we can find out how much it costs Mount Washington, because they've done it in Massachusetts. And again, it's a difference between whether you're just going down the roads, but then are you going up the driveways, which can add on as much mileage as you have on the roads.
absolutely.
I thought you said Otis.
Hmm?
Otis or Mount Washington?
Mount Washington is our place we
Okay.
visited. I'm sure there's other, like half the towns in Berkshire County are wired in some form. And I think, again, for people like me that aren't up on all the terminology, it would be useful to find out the difference between 5G, fiber optic, microcells, and there's a bunch of different terminology that gets used interchangeably, but not all is correct.
And it's not the same stuff.
No,
No,
absolutely
it's not the same.
It's very clear that fiber is cable, micro is,
But a lot of extra little towers,
right.
5G, yeah.
So, and how they are tied into the cable system and what Performance Act gives you versus tying into a fiber system. So, plenty to learn. Anything else on fiber optics? Pritchard Road, the Inland Wetlands Commission, we are applying to the Inland Wetlands Commission with the Lynn family that has land on Pritchard Road and also butts Day Road. So the thought is that we would assist them in expanding the old section of Day Road, and then we would be able to, these are two parallel roads off Flat Rocks Road. Used to be both town roads, through roads going through, neither of them go through now. So the thought is it's much easier, convenient, less expensive for the town to fix up a little section of Day Road and then hopefully discontinue formally the middle of Pritchard Road, which would be very expensive to fix up, and the middle of Day Road, which would then go out to Route 45 through some people's backyard, but not much public benefit. So again, it's a fairly complicated thing, but I would like to keep moving that along. Any comments before you go?
Absolutely.
Okay, but we're almost there if you want to sit tight for a second. I mean, you don't have to sit tight if you got better things to do.
On Day Road, we're talking about 400 or 500 feet?
100 feet.
Really? That's
Yeah, 100 feet off the end of where the turnaround is now.
So to connect the two ends of Day Road,
No, it's just going off. Day Road right now is a dead end.
We'll talk
This would
about
just
it.
this
Yeah,
would extend the dead end
Okay.
another 75 feet into the wilderness, giving these people access to their property.
into the wilderness. Yeah.
all right,
Okay,
I'll need an explanation of that.
right. Next is tornado anniversary. The Cornwall Historic Society is marking the anniversary of the tornado on 21st of June 2019 from 4 to 6. And
4 to 6, maybe 5 to 7, actually, I'm not sure.
okay, /5/7.
Slash.
Yeah, let's go 5 to 7. 7:30. Let's live it up. So, so I would just say that this board. Well, let's make I'd make a motion that we support the commemoration of the 30th anniversary of the 1989 tornado, and support the work of the Cornwall Historic Society to have an appropriate event on June 21st.
And who is sponsoring this event?
This is the Cornwall Historic Society.
Oh,
Lisa Samant, president.
very good.
Small world.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because
Let's hear a little bit more.
But what we do have is we're opening a general show, which is mostly about Cornwall history, but we have a whole section that's been designed by Paper Buck, which is a really interesting little, very new way of looking at an artistic sort of collage-y
Oh,
thing. I mean, it's just, bits of photographs and design and very nice looking. Paper goes to Carnegie Mellon, and he developed this exhibit there. So, and that he'll be talking a little bit, and Gordon's agreed to do a few words.
Me?
You
Okay, yes. I'll be
did
there.
say that.
I will say, I did say that, and I will.
5 minutes, the board says,
Okay. No more, no less.
and one no less.
That's good. Reflection. Good.
And the really nice thing though is that the Blakeys came up with the idea themselves of reopening the Blakey Diner on the Historical Society lawn under a tent, where they'll have their grill going, and we'll have little sliders and little hot dogs, or sort of the stuff. And you said that you brought down veg and so on to
Right.
go
We
with
can
that.
recreate the salad.
So we'll work out some way of doing that. Because that was Jerry wanted to do it all day long.
All day
And I
long.
said, I don't know why we wouldn't. He's so
Well, it sort of
funny.
did go for.
It did, I mean, he
day
just.
Went on for
Day.
better
Oh,
part
no,
of a
I know
month.
it.
Yeah.
It was something, but that was really such a significant piece of the whole thing that we thought it would be great if they did that.
Very good. Okay, we have two additions, one asking.
You didn't vote on that,
Oh,
and nobody seconded it.
is there a second to that?
Second.
What was the
Voting
motion?
on the
To support
tornado.
the efforts of the
Oh, yeah, okay.
Cornwall Historic Society to commemorate
Yeah, commemorate that.
the 30th anniversary of the tornado.
So you made the motion and I'll second it.
Right. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So, next, we have two additions proposed by Priscilla. One is a proposed appointment of Joanne Watershek to the alternate of the Planning and Zoning Committee. Since we moved Ginny Potter up to that position, leaving a vacancy on the alternate position, which is true. The only thing I don't know and why I would like to postpone this for a period of time is two reasons. One, I think there are other people that might be interested in the position. And the second thing is I'm not sure, because we appoint this as opposed to it being an elected position, this may go on for a period of time, as opposed to Ginny Potter's term as a full member only goes to into the election in November. But I think I'm not sure how we deal with vacancies of alternates, and that may go to a longer period of time, and I would like to know what that period of time is before we vote on filling that. But that's just my own preference. If you want to make a motion, you can make a motion, but those
Well,
are...
I would think we could make a motion and just have the appointment go to this term so that it would end with the election. So if there's a regulation that planning and zoning has, or do they hop up and reappoint somebody? It doesn't seem like they have.
Well,
What was the end of Jenny's term as an alternate?
don't know.
That's the question.
Yeah.
Don't know. It could be 6 years, could be 4 years, could
Yeah.
be 3 years, could be 2 years. And because it's different, then the planning and zoning full members are elected. The alternates are appointed by us. For better or for worse. So their terms aren't necessarily bound by the electoral cycle the way the elected official people are. So,
Yeah, you'd have to look at what you did in the
Is that true?
past.
I think that's true on all boards. If you're
They're all
appointed,
different,
but if you're
yeah.
appointed partway through an elected term, then when the next election comes up, you're up for re-election. That part's true, I think, on all boards.
right, yeah, you can't, if somebody's appointed to fill a vacancy, that vacancy only lasts until the next election for an elected person. But if they're an appointed person, those appointments aren't subject to the elections.
In some committees, some boards appoint their own alternates
Correct.
also.
And some committees fill their own vacancies. So it's all,
It is different everywhere then.
yeah. So,
How do you want to proceed?
You want me to say?
How do you want to proceed? Do we have a motion on the floor, actually? or-
Well, I had made the request that we appoint Joanne to complete. I was just thinking it was a term. I didn't realize it was open-ended, but because she's shown interest in being with planning and zoning, and the interest continues. And I hate to ignore somebody who is knowledgeable and has shown some interest. So I would like to make a motion that we appoint Joanne to fill in as the, what's the right word?
Alternate.
Alternate through this elective year, which would end in what?
1 year.
And then see what happens. I don't know.
That would be
You're raising the question.
Through this, because
Through November.
2019 is the town
Yeah.
election. Yeah.
Are the alternates aren't on the ballot though.
Correct. They're appointed by us.
They're appointed by us. Okay, so then we're making the appointment till November. Is that how well?
That's what the motion says. Now, whether
That's
we
what I
can,
made the motion for,
whether
yes.
we can do that,
Yeah. Who do we have to verify this with?
Probably Vera,
Vera Pearlie,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's very clear, we can find out quickly how long the term goes for from talking to Vera.
All right. Well, the problem is that if we can't, I mean, can we appoint someone, we could appoint someone for less than the amount of term?
Right. Well, we usually don't do that. We haven't done that.
But that's what we're saying, if we go to
That's what I was
November.
saying
Right.
now, just to have a time frame,
Yeah.
since this seemed to be an amorphous thing here, just to move it off the table. And then we'd be faced with if we have to appoint more alternates, but at least it would cover us for this year. That was my thinking.
So,
I was being a pragmatist.
All right. Huh. So I'll second the motion so we can be discussing it.
Okay,
Uh,
thank you.
We want to, we're saying, so I guess it'll be till November then. I guess that's the, whether that's, can that be,
can it be rescinded if it's not correct?
I got it the wrong way.
So,
I don't know, be better to vote on it and know what we're voting for. I mean, if,
Can you postpone this vote and talk to
right,
Vera?
I mean, I think the reality is the planning and
Yeah.
zoning is working on their 10-year plan, and that's their focus, and they've got the committee set up, they're doing all their work. Joanne's part of that process, I'm part of that process, a lot of people are part of that process, and they're set with that regardless of whether they have alternates before November or not. That's their big lift. So, anyway, I would have no problem bringing this up again at our next meeting. And as I said before, I think there are other people that could also be qualified to be on that committee if we find out there is an opening. We know there's an opening, but if we find out what the term is.
so should we amend the motion to table it until we actually know what the term will be then?
You
Is
can make a
that,
motion to table,
Someone can do that, yeah.
right, until next meeting.
So we have a defined term that we're appointing
Right.
someone for. So I guess I'm making a
Okay.
motion to
So that's,
table this, to put it on the agenda for the next meeting, to be able to define what the actual term of the appointment would be.
I'll second that. Any more discussion on this motion? All those in favor of tabling this main motion, say aye. Aye.
So we're tabling.
We're tabling
the whole
Voting to
motion.
the whole
table,
motion.
yeah.
Is
Right,
that what we're doing?
yeah.
I'll vote for that also. It's always better to know what you're voting for, what the term of it is.
Is there any
No,
negative
bringing,
votes?
bringing a tabled motion up again requires somebody who voted against it, for it? Do you
No.
remember how that works?
No, I think you can take it off the table.
Anybody just
I
do
think if
that?
you're
All right.
talking about changing a motion. So if it's voted table, then it stays on the agenda till next
Okay.
time.
So it comes back at the next
It
meeting.
comes back at the next meeting.
And by then, we will know
The terms,
the term of the
right,
appointment.
yep.
Okay.
Okay, all those in favor of tabling? Said two. Priscilla, you in favor? Opposed?
Yeah,
Abstain?
no, I'll go along with the group in
Okay,
favor.
all right. Good. All right, so now that's the end of our meeting.
Railroad
No, you have
crossing.
this one.
Oh, the railroad crossing. So
Railroad
we
thing,
had
yeah.
problems with the crossing things. So so this happened twice in the last week?
Yes, and it happens frequent. The arms don't always come down, but twice, once over the weekend and later this
Right.
afternoon, the arms come down and they stay down to the point where I have driven around those downed arms several times and led other people to
Are
do
the
the
lights
same
flashing
thing.
and
Oh, yeah.
And the bells are?
Oh, yeah. And the trains go on. Like today, I was showing the store, and about 4:30, train came through. I'm leaving about 5 after 5. The arms are still down. The lights are still flashing. I want to go home to River Road. So what do? I drive around the fucking things and go
All right.
home.
Oh dear. So now, do you
I mean,
know
frustrating.
on their posts there is a number to call to report that they're
We've
down?
looked
Bianca
at-
called it and reported it today,
Okay,
right when it happened,
right when it happened.
and she's done it a couple times.
And how long did it take them to respond?
The guy was in town here, and he came and dealt with it
Yeah.
soon after.
Right.
He came in and dealt with it then. But Ash has called, and if you try to get through the railroad, you get a number to forward to for operations.
Right.
And the last time he did that, the message box was full.
Hmm.
And then he called the state police and he said, it's not an emergency, it's just an annoyance. Because, because we also have the lights at both ends
Right.
of the former Chapel Street.
It could
Right.
be
So
an
we hear
emergency.
them all the time.
Could easily be an emergency. Yes, so what I would propose to do
But I
is,
think if the town would call, so
Right,
that they
well-
would think it's more than just pesky neighbors.
right, I think what I'll do is I'll call and I'll document my call to them.
Thank you.
And I think,
Rattle their cage.
well, I'll
Yeah.
call and then I'll also make this problem known to our representatives. Because
Good.
I'm involved with Craig Minor on another railroad issue.
Oh,
And
good.
So I think he has some contacts in the state. Because again, if, for example, if this happened during the canoe race or something
Yeah.
else, it
Yes.
also effectively blocks
Yeah.
emergency response to West Cornwall.
Yeah.
So I will bring all that up to them. So I will talk and email the railroad and then,
Maybe Maria Horn too.
yeah, definitely Maria Horn and Craig Minor. Okay. Okay, tomorrow. Good. All right, so now we're at public comments. Any public comments? Yes.
As you know, I've been in dialogue with Dave Colbert and P&Z and CCing the selectmen this dialogue with regard to fiber optic. First question I have for you, has the town identified in the town of Cornwall who is not connected with the internet via the cable, coaxial cable that we have now?
I think the only survey we did was where cell phone service was absent. As far as I know, most of the town is wired for cable.
Okay, so cable,
seems like-
so, right, so you're.
I mean, it's pretty well built out. I mean, we don't have it
So
ourselves,
You're
but
bringing
that's
up a
what's up.
separate issue.
Right, but
Mobile's different than home.
Connectivity, computer, hardwired, internet, mobile is a second issue. So my question is, for connectivity to computer, to the internet, have we identified who is lacking?
no.
Okay. Don't we think that might be a good thing to do prior to expensive fiber optic? Now, the second part of my question, or a comment to you, is fiber optic, as I have been writing about, is a backhaul for 4G, 5G, and many, many small cells. Now, I hear tonight that you are aware of that because you're aware of the cost. What will it cost for laying out the fiber in town? So thus, does it go into the driveway to the home so that people would have an option for 100% wired? But we know that that's not going to happen because of cost. So the second part of my comment is this is going to bring into the town of Cornwall small cells that will be placed on utility poles. Right, well, we're going to have redundance because right now we do have Sprint, who has now, for Brad and I to drive from our home on Dudleytown to here, we go under 14 small cells that are placed.
The equivalent radiation exposure of walking under a cell tower.
So,
14 of them.
right,
It's been laid out. See, how it's laid out is very valuable. Even Ken Maxwell said he's pushing for more fiber so he can reduce the number of small cells. He's not in favor of small cells everywhere because he knows there's downsides here. So how it's done matters. And I guess what we're trying to bring up is we would like the town to be educated to a degree to be able to make the decision about what kind of layout we have and what kind of exposure we incur, because small cells laid out the way they've been laid out in various areas are a major environmental impact.
but we already have that. And I remember, Gordon, we came here, Brad and I, when Optimum, they were on Valley Road, and unbeknownst to the town, they have gone and placed these they're called semi-small cells, femto devices. Brad and I have measured these. We have very, excellent equipment. And the radiation that these cells are putting out is equivalent, standing under it, to a cell tower. So we're talking about this fiber optic and the reality of what it's going to bring. And here we are already with the small cells, and I'm not hearing the town talking about any of this. I see that this is something we should be writing into the town plan, but we're already too late. So fiber optic is going to bring redundancy of these small cells, and we're already impacted. And I hear nobody in this town saying anything about that.
The details matter, and the details matter.
Right, and as I said, we're trying to get a conversation going, and I think that's the thing. As you said, it's already here, and as we already heard, the state gave exclusive rights to the utility poles to the utility companies. So we could say, take them down, but they're not gonna take them down.
Well,
But I think-
we could potentially find out from our town lawyer what they did is they are not the only one that is on
There's a
utility
regulatory
poles. Pura. The only one that is on a utility pole is the one that is facing south right here in the valley. All the rest are on the cable. So potentially, they have bypassed the Public Utility Regulation Association in putting them up. We could potentially challenge that. This is our moment.
Right.
If we're talking about fiber optic and the town public municipal, and that the town P&Z or the selectmen are going to, cite where they are, then we're a little late on that. This is our moment of challenging as a town what is going on here.
It's an opportunity to put forth a method of safe and effective connectivity. in a way that does not have significant negative environmental impact. The grasshoppers in the valley will be sterile in a few generations. And what's feeding the kestrels? You know, it is a significant issue. So this is an opportunity for the town. I mean, I know a lot well, people are just swallowing the hook left and right. I know that because it's been pitched along with economic development and whatnot. But it's a matter of doing it smartly. And, you know, Kim Maxwell sits on both sides of the fence, but even he recognizes that it needs to be done smartly. So this is a real opportunity for Cornwall to take an outstanding forefront position to say what's right for the environment and human folks as well.
And just to add too, most of us do not have Sprint service. So we're getting 24/7 RF with no benefit.
Right. Right. That's an industry competition issue.
Right.
That's right.
So we're sort of,
Beginning of industry competition.
sorry, that's our deal.
So
Okay.
I'm a little passionate about
Good.
this subject.
That's fine.
That's our deal.
That's all right.
Because we know the specifics of it, and
Mhm.
we've been educated in this field for about 10 years now, as much as anyone in the region. And we have access to international experts in this regard. And this is sort of a watershed time. Cornwall can just be buried in the Ned Lamont, we want 5G. Or Cornwall can take a stance and say, it can be done smartly in a much more effective for connectivity and less environmentally negligent way.
Good. So we have
Okay, thanks.
an appointment on Thursday to talk some more?
No, tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Okay.
Tomorrow at 10?
Tomorrow at 10. I'll be here.
Great.
Good.
That's our deal.
Good.
It's a lot, we know there's huge momentum to this. We
Yeah.
recognize the realities of it, but it needs to be specifically recognized and investigated in ways that make sense.
Right. I think part of the thing too is there's been a lot of proposals, but there hasn't really been much opportunity for different views to have a discussion. So, and I think Kim Maxwell seems to be available, so that might be a good place to
Yeah.
start.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
And again,
It's the right
Yeah,
people in
and
the
there
right
is-
room and.
right. And there is the public outreach thing, and that's the public forum.
That's after sale. You know, I'm not sure the public outreach is an investigatory issue. That's a.
Right, but you gotta
Marketing.
start with the public discussion at some point. That's part of the problem.
Discussion,
Yeah.
absolutely, but that
Yeah.
kind of outreach
That's marketing.
potentially is, you know,
That's
very
post-decision
agenda.
marketing. It's not necessarily investigatory and, you know, educational where people would learn what the issues are and therefore be able to make a more informed decision.
So let's, maybe you can have something to say.
Okay.
So, you know, it's an interesting thing. It's a huge topic and it will make a big difference for the environment.
Transfer station.
If you just investigate small cells on the internet, you'll realize how much negative press is already out there about them. They're being banned in country after country, in states in the U.S. Not just towns, entire states. Maryland, not just Oregon and Washington State. Because of these issues. Anyway, so it's
Thank you.
so
Okay.
What are you saying is being banned?
small
Small
cells.
cells.
What's throughout Cornwall at present have been banned by states because of their negative impact. Yes. So we're at this sort of crossover time. It's being perpetuated, yet we still have an opportunity to investigate it more and make smart decisions. And Blumenthal's fine, you
Okay.
know, what we're discussing.
Uh-huh.
Anyway,
Anyway, good. Thanks for coming. Any other comments, questions? Joanne?
I was curious about the transfer station vacancy. Is that a new job or is somebody leaving?
Tommy Giuliano is taking a job closer to his home.
So he's leaving.
He's leaving, so it's not a new job.
So what happens, I remember when he took the job, you had to make an additional transfer of funds because you had to buy health insurance for a family instead of an individual, which I believe is somewhere in a 5-figure terms. So if you hire somebody this time, will you be considering the cost savings that could be made by hiring someone where you don't have to buy a family health insurance policy?
You can't.
I don't think you can do
I
that.
don't think legally you can discriminate against people
You
for
can't
having
do
a
that,
family.
yeah.
I think we would be in great legal jeopardy if that was one of our,
If you would weigh it.
well, even weighing it, I think would give people that have family independence great disadvantage that they shouldn't have.
Well, I thought
It reminds
we
me
gave
of
a great
charging-
advantage this time because we were looking for somebody with families to stay in Cornwall and we moved out of Cornwall, which was unfortunate. So let me ask you.
It reminds me of the poll tax. We don't charge people in order to vote. I don't think we can discriminate against people because they have families.
No, you couldn't any more than you could ask somebody, questions like, are you going to leave this job when you get pregnant or something like that? Yeah.
Right.
Well, Tommy didn't get pregnant.
Oh, I heard that one.
I have a question, Gordon, about, since you were talking about freedom of information and correct behavior by town officials. I understand that you, Todd, and Steve McDonald met for nearly an hour at the Pink House site to discuss the town purchasing the Pink House as a possible site for West Cornwall, and then you adjourned your own personal unannounced meeting to Ian's facility to apparently discuss it with him. How do you justify that? Or I don't believe you can justify it. I think it was an illegal meeting.
I think your accusations may have something to do why I'm hesitant to put you on another town board.
Careful.
I think because that was not a meeting of a town board. In fact, when Ian saw us at the meeting, there was Steve McDonald. I said, this is not a meeting. You can go back to your shop or whatever else. Steve wanted to look at some possibilities, places to look. I meet with the chairs of the Planning and Zoning Commission, Board of Finance, School Board, Principal, Highway Department. That's my job, is to interact with town officials. I do it every day. I do it, please, you're supposed to just be commenting. This isn't supposed to be an interrogation. My job is to meet with town officials day in and day out. This was not a meeting of a town board. I can meet with I meet with the town engineer, I meet with Roger Kane. That is not a meeting of a town board. So this was not a meeting of a town board. I can meet with the chairman, I can meet with an engineer. No action is taken. I can do my homework. We can, in between meetings, investigate issues. I can meet with Brad and Meg to find out more about fiber optic. That's what I do day in and day out, is to meet with people. However, I don't take any action during those meetings with people. But if I don't meet with people, I wouldn't be doing anything. I mean, I met with the governor. I met with other first selectmen this morning. I met with Steve McDonald. I met with Todd. I talked to Todd. I talked to other people during the course of the day. That's what I do. But I don't I don't go down to Richard's office and say, let's pave Poughkeepsie Road today. That would be taking action. That's much different than talking to people, trying to advance the work of the town and move these issues forward, which is also our job. And any insinuation of personal attacks just aren't appropriate.
Well, I want you to know it was not an insinuation. It was a statement that I felt your meeting with the chairman of the West Cornwall Sector Committee and a hired consultant was inappropriate without advising the rest of the committee and giving them an opportunity to attend and participate. So it was not, it was I'm not insinuating anything, I'm saying that's exactly how I felt. And since you then brought it up, that's one of the reasons you would not like to see me appointed to the Planning and Zoning Commission. How many months has this board dragged its feet? And it wasn't until I pushed you that you even managed to put Ginny in a rightful position as a full voting member of the board. You'd rather just leave it open. And I can't see how it would make any big difference. What are you going to decide, Richard? How much longer are you going to extend it? You're not going to appoint someone for less than the time frame till November election. So all Priscilla asked you to do was to give someone who's interested an opportunity to serve. But no, you want to spend another month dredging up someone as a placeholder for another committee. And I'm insulted.
Thank you.
Okay, there we have it. Any other comments?
I certainly concur with Brad and Meg on all of their comments related to RF coming from the small cells. The RF coming out of the small cells have adverse health effects on both human and environmental biologic receptors. It's a very real phenomenon. It's increasing in the body of literature as the research progresses. You, as the Board of Selectmen, really have an obligation to educate yourselves and the citizens about this. And if there's any doubt, I would want you to err on the side of the precautionary principle. There are indeed large municipalities, large governments, cities, schools throughout the world that are rejecting small cell and the RF that comes off of them. They're very right, Meg and Brad, in saying that this is a watershed moment. This is an opportunity for Cornwall to take the lead for this insidious technology that has many moving parts, many layers, a lot of industry pressure on citizens, and we hope that perhaps you might cobble together a presentation of multiple views and different entities who are familiar coming from different perspectives. And we've done that before here in Cornwall, years past, and it sounds like it's time for another presentation to better educate folks. And fiber to the home does not mean fiber to the home, it means fiber to the end of the driveway, which leaves us all exposed to the small cells that then need to be installed in order to complete that signal from the end of the driveway to the home. I'm all for fiber to the home. I'm all for a hardwire to the home. People need and deserve to be connected if they so choose, and then they can make their own personal choices inside their home, whether they go to Wi-Fi or Ethernet inside their own homes. But what they're talking about insect exposure is very real, and it's happening. And there's data out there that you need to access. And we're talking about the food chain. It's happened with chlorinated compounds and all other kinds of compounds. Now we're dealing with RF exposure at a very low level of the food chain that just affects every step, every organism above the insects. So, and it's also starting to show splits in DNA. So we're talking on a cellular, molecular level that this has adverse effects, and it deserves greater education of yourselves and the public. So let's put a conference on. Let's all co-sponsor it and come together so that people get a better idea on how they're voting and what's going to be residing in their neighborhoods against their will.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Okay, so then next we have bill payment, bank reconciliation.
That's it, right?
That's it. That's all it fits.